Okay. Number 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Yes.
I thought this was number 5 technique, but instead it's a chapter 5 of 5 techniques inside 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how did you? Wow, I loved this one. What about you? Love some of them.
Yeah,
Did
we'll
it
kind of have
click?
to like, we'll kind of have to go into each one and see what resonated and what didn't. But um, there's a lot here for me that was like, oh, never considered that way. And there was even a point of like getting triggered, kind of triggered. I guess you say triggered. Like it wasn't like an emotional trigger. It was more like a mental trigger of I'm feeling like this is the trap that I didn't want to get into. And then at some point he talks about the confusion. Like I told you this and I'm telling you the opposite now. I'm like, okay, do I drop it? And then by the end of this chapter, I kind of had the wider perspective that helped me to kind of digest it. So it was a journey.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite shocking to the mind to me too. And did one of you remember how in the beginning he said, um, something will click, and when it clicks, or when it feels like you can do it, it's kind of yours to take on. So did you feel with any of these?
Mm, yeah. Um, really the third eye with breath as the essence. I felt that one was not really a click, but that it's available, like I can access it. Um, and then where I got triggered or where I'm like mentally doing loops is on the having direction over dreams and death itself. I'm like trying to stay open.
Oh,
Uh,
you thought it
I
was
just
not
got
possible,
it.
or
No, I just like I get in my head about it. I get into judgment and into
Mhm.
comparison, not feeling like I'm good enough, not feeling, you know, starting to create stories about, oh, I need to purify my body because I'm not ready because I've tried to do this and it hasn't happened. You know, it's,
Mhm.
yeah. And then by the end of the 5 techniques and him talking about it, I'm like, I already know what works for me because the story of the man who came back and was just dancing and he's like, I'm new. I'm like, just in my bliss. I don't need anything. I don't need to seek anything. I'm like, okay, I know that I've can get there. I know that I am there. And sometimes I get lost and chasing these ideas of spiritual attainment or life attainment, and it pulls me out of that experience. It's like, uh, shit, chit, chit ananda. I think I'm missing one word, but it's like you are already that. You are
Mhm.
already that. It's just a reminder, like you are that, and we forget, and we go on forgetting, and like these techniques help us to remember. Remove, we shed the layers of ego and of desire and of, you know, not being enough. And again,
Mm.
talking about integrity, it's like the highest integrity is that you are already that. There's nothing outside or apart from you. Just remember your divinity within. These techniques are meant to bring your divinity to the forefront, back to the center. Anyway, how about you? Did you connect with any of these?
Well, first I felt bad for not trying the technique enough time. And then as I was reading it, I just took a moment to see what he's explaining with the third eye. And when he said it clicks or it locks, and then all the thoughts, you just become a witness of the thoughts, this part of third eye. And there was this sense of looking upward, right? And then a huge headache and tension because the eye, like puts the pressure, a lot of it. And then I was trying to pull back and forth with this almost like a dimension or distance, right? So I was coming closer, there was a place and space where I felt comfortable to stay. And then I was like, oh my God, actually, there may be exactly what he's saying. So I had not thought about it that way, nor I understood it, that the eye is our actual third eye that just is not functional until we put attention to it. And I loved that one. I didn't know he's going to continue with other four techniques in it. I thought it would all be about it. And then the second one, which is the when in worldly activity, pay attention, just be attentive, right? Keep attention between the two breaths. And I was like, well, I am in the middle of activity, reading. Can I also pay attention to it?
Mhm.
And then I found this sensation in the body, a sensation of recognition, some sort of, oh, right? It's like some sort of, I recognize that I can do these two things at the same time. And I was curious, I keep zoning out and coming back in, zoning out and coming back in. And as I stood and made a coffee and came back and did all these activities, I found it so cool. And I was like, let me brush it. That's why I was late, because I was like trying to
Mhm.
do it. And I was like, I took my sweet time. I was paying attention how I'm breathing, and I would lose it and then I would come back. And I think this game was so
Yeah.
playful for me. I
Mhm.
loved that one, and I actually highlighted it as that one. I was a bit confused about this intangible breathing before the moment of sleep. I'm curious to try it tonight and die with it. And then the devotion, the devotion to become. That's Atma's devotion. I really love how he explained it,
Mhm.
how to become a knower and kind of be so present in that part of the technique. And then the sucking and the lying in bed, I think that was so cool, because I went back to that exact example that he's using to, like to imagine, reimagine, and also move my jaw for the sucking,
Mhm.
um, or staring in the corner without trying to blink. And I love that because it's so freaking hard. And I do love that he touched the base on the sucking. At the end, because it was very opening to me. It was very daring. And of course, he's going to say stuff like this, right? So it's like it was very daring. And he also noted something that everybody really desires and nobody talks about it. And then I started imagining and sensing how I feel about it. So it was very, very, very interesting. I really like this.
Mhm.
All of them actually. But yeah, the activity and the breathing, I think this is something I can practice today, and I'll see how far I go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the realization that has been occurring, or like been increasing over time, is that activities that are meditative are meant to be brought into the world to play. And so like last night, for example, so for me, dance is extremely meditative. Like, and he was saying something in here where I was just thinking about there was a gap between two songs where it was like not clear what direction it was going. And then I like came out of my dancing and was looking around, and people didn't know what to do. There was just a few of us who couldn't stop, and I was one of them. And I'm like, look at this. I'm like, okay, don't get so caught in my head where I stop, because I'm like, it just feels good. Like you're just like caught by this energy. Like you can still feel almost like the prana of the space of what's happening.
Mhm.
Oh, and two, like deep talk about prana. I thought that was very interesting. We can get into that. But for an example, last night I was losing my temper. I had the kids all day at home and it was rainy. We didn't go out. I didn't have a vehicle. I was feeling trapped. I had my work stress that I was processing, small things, but I know I just noticed like I'm speaking from a place where my temper is short and I'm not enjoying that. So once the kids were all in bed, they were great listeners, and I was just in my little zone. And they were all laying in bed. They were pretty tired, and then I just started spinning. And they're like, and when I first started dancing in front of them after going to the dance, they're like, "Ew, Dad's dancing. Dad's a girl." I'm like, "Okay, whatever. I don't care." And I'm spinning, and they're like, "Dad, why are you spinning? Stop spinning." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to stop spinning." And I just kept spinning harder and harder, and then spinning faster until all of a sudden I'm like feeling joyous again and light. And then I was exhausted 30 minutes before that. And I went to bed and I was like talking Carly's ear off and I had all this energy and I couldn't fall asleep. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just right there, right? Like how my anger brought me into this, like, I'm, like you just cascade into it of like, okay, I'm losing my temper. Now I'm having relationship issues. Now that's adding to the stress and anxiety. Now I'm pulling in more data points of why your stress is valid. Like you start to like validate your state. Um, and then I went and spun, and it's kind of like spinning until my mind cannot. It's like getting confused.
Mm,
You just spin until you're not oriented anymore, and you're just totally in your body. And then going to the bed, and I have all this energy, and then I start to have a different perspective on it. And not to say like we should always seek to change the state that we're in. He talks, and this was triggering too. He talks about, you know, stay in your wrath, like let it be, like die in your body. And I was like very not feeling into that at all. I'm like actually opposed to it. Um, because I feel that I've been stagnant. I've come from that place. I've done a lot of stagnant focused, like restrictive meditations, and I just don't feel it does good for me. So, yeah.
that's really cool.
I don't know what the point of that was, but just sharing.
Yeah, because you were mentioning the prana, as it sounds like, and they say it's a season of life. Sometimes one of them works, sometimes it doesn't. Like there are times for me when I just want to lay down and not do anything, and they're very rare. That's why I call them not normal or standard for me. As if and I'm almost like dismissing it as it's not mine. I was like, but it is mine.
Yeah.
And if I can sit in it and feel just that, or almost like experience that too, either works or it doesn't. It's either
Yeah.
truth or not, right? And I like that he opens this way of try it. If it doesn't work, not yours now. Next,
Yeah.
right? And definitely, I found he was talking when he was explaining, try to be dead. It's just something behind it was very freaky for me to feel trapped in the body and rather than not do anything, right? It's like freaky. So if it's nothing, I would not get activated by any mean, but something is behind it. It may be my time in 10 lives ahead of the time, maybe a chance for me to try it. But I also like that everything that we're trying, I got the sense of everything we're trying right now in this life is that seed that maybe one day will just be a little extra cup in the water to overflow for you to get to that state of awareness or a state of reality. And I
Hmm.
love that, you almost sounds like no effort is wasted for
Yeah.
any technique tried, as long as you do or you try something with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just play, right? And recognizing that all of life is play. That's what it's called, Lila, the divine play. And that's the process of forgetting and remembering. We forget that we are divine and we think that we're just this body and just this mind, just this single point of consciousness, but we're so much more. So all there is to do is play,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Dance.
Yeah.
So you spin when you dance?
Yeah, I've been spinning more and more recently. We have I say there's a roomie devotee, I'm pretty sure, because he spins. He
Yeah.
has this white uh robe like gown type of thing, and he just spins and spins and spins at the dance.
I love it with
And
the hands.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And um that was inspiring to me. And then this woman who we first lived with when we moved on the island, whenever she comes around, she's much older, but whenever she comes around, she'll spin, and like you do like this dance where you're kind of mirroring each other. And so I start to spin. But I noticed when I'm like being contemplative about my dance, I'm like, I'm very like feet stuck
Still.
here, and I'll go like side to side maybe, or I'll like move my hips, but I'm stuck here. I'm facing the DJ. And I'm like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of seeing people? Are you afraid of people seeing you? Are you afraid of moving in a way that isn't Taurus moon, like, you're grounded? And so in kind of just like looking at that, I feel ultimately what I'm after is like freedom, to feel free. It's the best feeling in the world. And I'm like, what feels free is to spin, to jump, to like roll on the ground, to whatever. So I've just been opening that door more and more and playing in it. And spinning is a very simple thing where I don't have to take up a lot of space because I can spin pretty tight to my body, but it feels so free and it gets me completely out of self-analyzing or being judgmental of other people. Because like once you get spinning for a while in the dance, you or I really lose that small self perspective. Yeah. Sorry, that chime really threw me.
A chime.
Yeah, did you get a notification? Maybe it was me.
Mm-mm.
Sorry.
That's really cool. And that's the spinning was reminding me of the Sufis and
Yeah.
their blissful dance. And that is just very Sufi. And interesting because I have this book that talks about the fixed stars from Persia in
Hmm.
astrology. And every time it's like it's all connected somehow. It's it just kind of puzzles me how these puzzles just come and be connected in one story of why am I so inside of why am I getting like so attuned into such qualities that are disconnected but yet they all make sense because it's all coming together in one way. So you're saying dancing, and usually when I dance to feel liberated, I close my eyes and then I cut out everything.
Hmm.
And when I'm closing my eyes, I just allow sometimes just shaking of the
Yeah.
body to feel. And I move my hands and I hit my parts of my body just so that I can come back into the body. And then
Hmm.
after that, it just comes very disorganized and it feels my jaw drops. I drool sometimes too.
Hmm.
And it's just, last one I did was my uh, my friend was standing in front of me, dancing with me, looking at me, and for a good 15 minutes, I did not even notice.
Yeah.
And then I opened my eyes and she was in front, and I'm like, wow, how long you've been there? For a good
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes. And I was like, not even. I was just inside my body, just like going.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
I'm
We
glad
have
you found it.
I know, it's so good. Carly's like Carly has been like that too with like you, where she really needs to like close her eyes and go in because it's just it can be distracting to people who are empathetic because you feel energies and you see
Mm,
things and you can feel them in your own body. So it's just like closing that out in a space and then trying to attune to the feelings and the energies that feel good to you. Really, it's kind of what it is. But
mm,
there are I'm starting to find a tribe of I call it I call it like my tribe of dancers who we what I've noticed is there's this balance between internal and external where we're we're in our own like little bubble of joy, like I'm in my own space, I'm not intruding. And then there's other people who are very like, oh, I want to dance with you. Would you like to dance? You know, like doing this thing. And there's just a small group of us who we are playing with energy and we might be playing with your energy, we might be playing with the energy around us, but we're just completely self-contained. But what's been happening is more and more we tend to start to navigate together. And then there's just like, and then all of a sudden, like you see four or five of us spinning around and it looks chaotic and random, but we're like never hitting each other. We're never running it. And it's like my eyes are half closed. You're barely able to see because you're spinning so much. But it's such a joyous feeling to be, for me, to be in a space where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of reorganizing the idea of what it means to interact with other people because it's sovereign. Like I'm not needing you, you're not needing me, but we're able to kind of feed off of the energy in the space and we're sharing something that's magnetic, but nothing is being taken from anybody. Nothing is requested and it's all kind of it's just like nurtured. I don't know how else to put it. I'm talking a lot about dancing, but I really, really love it. It's been really profound how connected I feel to it. And then as I look at my chart, there's like clear aspects of music and dance are going to be very powerful for you. I'm like, well, yeah, they are. And then
you're
thinking
doing your
back to it,
chart.
yeah. And then thinking back to it, I'm like, oh, I've denied this aspect. I've stifled it because of whatever story that doesn't match who I'm supposed to be or how other people see me or what would my family think if I'm like, oh, I'm a dancer now? It's just stupid. It's just stupid mind stuff. And when you go back to the techniques that bring you bliss, and it's like that's all that really is important. And finding that for each person's different, but finding that thing, it probably will come with some challenges of the mind because that's why it's so meaningful because you're kind of shedding those layers.
Yeah, and on that point, I really like how simply he explains simple steps to shut it off
Yeah.
because he can take over. It takes over. It takes over all the time.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about this attention between the eyebrows and the mind before the thought. I thought for the exact same reason, 'cause sometimes I can get wrapped in my mind a lot. And so much so do I identify with my thoughts. I am the thoughts. And when I read this simple act of look up, find the spot, the click spot where it activates your third eye. I loved it was almost like epiphany. It was almost a completely new story to all the pictures of the third eye that I've ever seen, ever, which was it is so powerful that it sucks all your energy in. It literally sucks all your attention inside, and your mind is no longer there. And then you become so aware of this that you disassociate from your thoughts. And I loved it. I loved that now I understand what the third eye is. reminded me of I've been doing yoga for 7 years until I went to school to understand why am I doing certain poses, what this activates, why is this important to hold straight because of the Kundalini energy rising in the body. It took me years just to comprehend. So now I have the story of the third eye, and I love the story, which makes it easier for me to practice it because I know the story behind it. And I just loved it. And it's almost like now I want to give it attention,
Mm,
right? It almost like now when I discovered you as the part of me that is stagnant or dormant, yet very present, I can play with you and see what you got for me.
yeah. It's your Gemini is showing a little bit because, and not to call you out, but it's almost like you need to have the story, the understanding, the awareness to then
Hmm.
be able to faithfully, like he says, like with faith or with devotion, like step into a technique. And Carly, I think Carly's like, she's probably an outlier in a lot of ways, but she started doing energy healing. She would just hug people and they were like, what the hell? They would freak out because they're like, I've never felt anything like that. And she did this for months. And I would always ask her, like, so what's happened? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's happened? And people would ask her too. She's like, I don't know. I stay out of my mind and I just let my body be a vessel and I just touch people. And I'm like, that's really amazing. And then I think it's kind of gone away from her, but I think there's been enough stories applied to it, enough people questioning it, enough people sending her stuff that now it's like now there's a story that's getting in front of it, and now it's like she has to work even harder. But
Hmm. Yeah.
we're different, right? So like for you, you need to attach the meaning of the story behind it so that you can, feel that connection piece. So that's super cool. So you,
But
you were just trying it during reading and today during some of the activities.
yeah. And, in many ways, this is, I think, because Carla is Cancer, has this almost like gifted code to intuition that it might be hard for someone else. I think because of that, I am able to comprehend and satisfy my intellect as a Gemini rising, right? So I dove into to see what tools am I having available to use to get to the point where I need to get to the point. And very true. It's like I love having, I think in many cases, in many ways, this brings me and teaches me the integrity because I literally don't trust everything I read
Yeah.
until something is tuned into my almost like, oh, this unquestionably. Like I almost don't question it anymore. But if I have so many doubts and suspicions, even about my own thoughts, very Gemini, I would continue following, I would continue researching and self-analyzing. And I think this exact tool is bringing me so much more trust to drop into the body as if I have vetoed mentorship that is invisible through it, like as if it's like my guarded gate for it. And I lean on it a lot. I really, really trust it. And then I can actually surrender to it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, very
What did
interesting.
you, what, this is relevant to this topic. What did you think about the story of Pythagoras being denied to the
Mm.
school of Egyptian esotericism?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was like, huh, knowing intellectually everything is not what will get you there. You have to experience it.
Hmm.
But then I thought, but that's Pythagoras' story. This
Yeah.
is mine.
Hmm.
Then I
Yeah.
became very ignorant to say, why would I follow his path when I have mine and I'll find it?
Hmm. Yeah, I resonate deeply though because when um when hanging out with Carly while she's healing people and meeting people with all sorts of gifts or abilities, and we got to listen to a number of speakers. One of I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but one of whom is Rosicrucian. He's like one of the few people who speaks publicly in his Rosicrucian, which is one of the mystery schools. And I said to my friend, Dayani, I was like, I haven't felt anything. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, all the things that I say I've been feeling are just what I know that I'm supposed to be feeling, and I'm saying it because I'm trying to feel it. And she's like, oh, and she said, I can't help you. I was like, oh, that's not what I was hoping for. I was kind of expecting her to like blast me with energy and just like get out of your head. But she's like, I can't help you because in some ways, and looking back at it now, in some ways it's like just a decision. It's just a
Mm,
decision to like, do I want to be stuck in the story or do I want to feel? And if I want to feel, like to just start with something small, like what am I feeling? Like how does this feel? How does this feel? But being, maybe Aries rising, whatever, it's just like very heady about the whole process. And I think people can see that in me when they meet me. And now with dancing as specifically as a technique, it's like I'm feeling like there's not much activity in the head, in the mind. And going back to the Rosicrucian guy, he gave a technique during the talk, and as he was talking, I'm like, I'm just gonna practice it. And it's similar to Joe Dispenza, but it's related to, I think the first one here, but he goes into more detail, but pulling the energy and the prana up into the head and filling the head up.
mm,
And so this Rosicrucian guy, he says you're pulling it from the sex center. And so when you breathe in, you're going to typically you're told to like activate your, help me out, Melissa.
Your muscles?
Your in between your butthole and your yoni or your um
Sacral chakra?
yes, I'm thinking of the actual muscles. Kegels. He said,
Ah.
but what they don't tell you is like that works. Like you're pulling energy up, right? You're pulling energy up through your Ida and Pingala, through your spinal columns into the top of the head, into the crown. Um, and then you're putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth so that it can circulate. But what they don't tell you is you actually need to like tense the butt cheeks too and really pull with intensity. And it reminded me of with devotion. Like if you really, really just were like, I want to pull energy up, you would put your whole muscle, your whole body into it. And I did this and it just exploded out like I just felt like the tree of life and just connected. And then I could feel, and then so my sensation of, he says, he says raining, I think, raining on the top of your head,
Shower.
shower. And typically I think of light, but when he mentioned flowers from a tree, I was like, oh, that is a wonderful feeling. That's a really good sensation. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, I resonate deeply with like you don't get access to the esoteric side when you're stuck in the mind and the intellect. Ironically, there's a lot of intellectual learning that takes place within these systems, but it's not so that you become more heady. It's not so that you become the ultimate knower of all the knowledge, right? It's just, yeah.
And you know how this all makes sense because it's so randomly connected,
Yeah.
like it all makes sense to ease to it and trust it for someone who questions everything. I'll just speak from my experience. And funny enough, because through your dancing, you feel, you have this experience of becoming a tree of life. We'll use that example, which is, or, like through this intention, putting so much devotion of energy to this attention to drive and kind of control and move the energy through your body, which is, I don't know, you tell me if it's true, connected to your chart as well. So you do have the force of fire to put in. And as an Aries, as a ram, you you just see where you're going. You literally have the destination. You're headed towards it, right? So there's this force that you can use as a gift to climb that mountain and get to the peaks of whatever, because your top of your chart is Capricorn, right? So, and Capricorns are going to climb on the highest mountain if necessary. So there is almost like a direction for it, and this energy can be used. You do your chart. In my case, here's where we differ a lot different. In my case, I find that my peak is Pisces, right? My peak is come on in, buddy. Come on in, jump in. Is ascension towards the realms of imagination, which come on, that cries. The only one I wouldn't mind listening to him whines and cries. And you know why? Just to be touched. That's it. He has,
Yeah.
he needs to be glued up my body. So his whole body is glued to mine. I don't know if you can see it. Hold on.
Yeah.
He's right here.
Mom, keep me warm.
And in my case, I almost feel if when I'm ascending, so this is where my attention is going. So where I'm descending down into the mud of my past, okay, my head is going into the subconscious to try, or subconscious or suppressed trauma, to try to dig myself out, either dig something out that I need to then release through the body and then process through the body in order to regulate and stay here in this mind, in this sense, right? In this like space of where I am with my conscious mind. But if I'm ascending and I'm reaching to be open, whatever, I don't know which part of it is, to feel a higher consciousness or something that it's much more powerful than me descend upon me in a form of idea or inspiration. I don't have a sensation of this coming through me from below up. I
Mm.
actually have a literal sensation of it coming and hitting me from above down. To me, it's like, wow, it has to pass through my awareness. It has to come in a form of imaginative, touching something. It's almost like it has to activate me from above down, as if it's invitation and it descends as a veil on the top of me and it passes through me in a sensation of waves, inspiration, idea, a statement, almost like like, and it makes me want to action forward it, right? It makes me want to do something with it. And
Mhm.
it's very interesting because looking at the chart, to do your chart is to understand that works for you, right? So, and for me, which is very different, but it's almost towards the same exact thing, a different technique. So he speaks about imagination as a form of the dream, where dream becomes the reality,
Mhm.
and how he blends in. There's no difference between the dream and reality. And I understood it through my experience of this descent from the realms unknown to me in a form of sensation that I can comprehend with my conscious mind. So it's almost like much higher power comes in, descends on, and I'm able to do something about it. And this is where my dream, my imagination uses its potential to passes on whatever that I need to kind of feed in any type of format from the dream state, from that higher consciousness or higher powers. Very
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah.
Did I lose you?
No. And so your muddy past life would be Virgo.
Oh, yes. So
Yeah.
your whole chart sits on the lowest, which
Yeah.
is the IC. Almost like they call it inner child work, right? So it's like very but it's it's a scorpionic tendency. And Scorpio and Pisces are on the two opposites, right? It's hard, it's heavy, it's intense. It's like almost like you're going through this like it's not even a purgatory. You're going through the purgatory. You're going to learn about the inner worlds and under gods and their powers, which is equally a source of evolution. So you can
Mhm.
evolve to that realm of descent too. But every time I'm down, it's like I have to force myself to stay for a long time. It's not my natural tendency. So I might have worked in my past lives, how he says, putting these seeds towards one path, and one path is lighter and lighter. To me, it's like to become lighter is to not dwell and park in the underworlds of my trauma for too long. I can when they arise for me to process them, but to sit there and dig them, it's like it gives me more trouble. I feel I get off a freeway. I feel like I'm out of my direction. That's the sense.
Mm. And what is I'm just piecing it together. So it's a little bit different than Chiron,
Mm.
right? Because my Chiron is well, my chart's a little different because with Aries ascendant, it's like it's all lined up. So that's where it's almost like I have to piece like I'm like going backwards to see how it kind of interplays. But my Chiron is Cancer, and so is my IC. But for you, your IC would be Virgo, Scorpio.
Virgo Leo. My IC is Leo,
Oh, it's Leo. And
but
then
it's so
your
you're looking
Chiron is
Gemini.
Gemini.
So
Yeah.
technically, I was shamed for what I talked in the past life. And
Yeah.
my way of understanding and explaining this through communication. And it's in the 12th house, which is the language of the higher realms, right? So if I were to say something out of blue, I will most likely feel so much pain. It will pain me so much, but it is something that I have to do. And in this case, I also question, it's like when he says certain things like die,
Yeah.
it's like it's triggering. Right? But
Yeah.
but when he says it, it doesn't trigger you. It invites it invites contemplation. It invites the reflection. It wants you to feel what that feels like. It's like you need to die. Just die. Just try. And but if I were to say that, that would hurt me a lot because it would cause a lot of wounding, that it's that sense of wounding will invite the wounding in the entire world. So there's a lot of tendency, a potential, as I read and remap the chart and all these stars, including fixed stars, that I can be I can reactivate my Chiron, which sits on my ascendant, you saw. It sounds like I can reactivate it so much so that I feel and rewound myself again, including everybody else, right? So you have to be in a total integrity of the heart. And this is just becoming as a concrete stud that it's not movable. It's a trunk of my tree. And that integrity is so important to be my own authentic integrity, which comes from the seed of the soul, which is the seed of the heart. There's no way around it. It's like I can't skip it. I can't pass through it or around it. It has to be just that.
hmm Yeah, it's funny because when you were describing how invol involution is more of the sensation you have because of the influences of your chart, and where mine is much more like self-directed. It's like I have a vision and I'm going towards it. Mine's more evolutionary in that sense. And even in hearing you, I had the temptation to be like, well, is there something that you can do so that it can come in? Like I'm still trying to find like like the self-direction so I can orientate how you might be experiencing it. But I'm opening up the idea that I don't know and I can't know what exactly it is that you're experiencing or feeling or how it happens.
Yeah. I wrote a story about this exact thing. is there anything that you can do? And I wrote it as Her Majesty inspiration came in and kind of demanded this and wrote me a love letter. And watch this story that I have on my Spotify. It's number 4. And I'm very much allowing it to happen. I'm not controlling anything. So I write the story. Story is beautiful. And I write about her. And I'm reading literally her letter to you. And in her letter, she said, but there are prerequisites for me to come and visit inspiration. There are prerequisites. And prerequisites are you have to silence yourself, literally. You have to sit in silence and feel me. You have to notice me when I come and talk to you. And she said, you have to be open to receive me. And for that, you need this 5 requisites. I post this, immediately gets banned. It gets
Band?
banned. Yes. Banned as a copyright from some Elizabeth Lim. And I was like, I've never heard of this. And I was like, what? No, this is mine. It's not even Elizabeth. Who's Elizabeth Lim? And literally, I get an auto reply that this was banned and rejected and removed. And I'm like, exactly. That's the Chiron, right? So it's like, this is that obstacle that comes in place because you're pulling now. Funny.
Uh, that's good.
Love it. And then it got me thinking. I was like, oh, I guess now there is a Spotify, not for creators, for authors. And I'm like, well, true, I am an author. Well, I guess in this world, I should be the author of my own thoughts, not a creator, right? So now I'm going to probably move to a different way because this one is not working. It's going to keep banning me for just having a reflective morning musings that are mine.
Yeah. Well,
uh,
and
funny.
that will probably be something that will need revolution in the coming decades is copyright law with the advent of increased telekinetic abilities and the ability to
Hmm.
connect to the morphogenic field. Like that's kind of what you're receiving messages that other people have received, and someone comes along and is like, "That's mine. That was the first." You know.
That's
Yeah.
also what it. Go ahead.
I'm like, well, if you're not trying to monetize it, then why would it matter? Anyway, yeah, I get it.
But you're right. So as we start growing our conscious awareness to our potentials and our superpowers, for the lack of a better word, really superpowers or awareness of our own powers, I literally envisioned having a bunch of people around all having their own superpowers. How cool would that be? Right? It's like, and because now you and I know each other's charts, I'm able to accept you. I don't want to change anything about you, right? So it's like, I really don't want to change you because you're so valuable and worth being here right now, right there, the same exact way. And it has nothing to do with me because I am my own worth. It's like I'm almost able to accept. That's why astrology is so good when you start diving into it because of that difference that it's unique to that person.
Mhm.
And if, it would be, um, yeah, it wouldn't be it. Why would you want to change someone? Easy said and done in relationships.
Mhm.
That's where we get triggered. Okay. Can we talk about the second one? Ooh, an
Yeah.
hour. The second one is when in worldly activity, keep attention between 2 breaths and so practicing in a few days be born anew.
Thoughts,
Or
feelings.
feelings. I like this one. I'm going to practice this today. I'm going to practice it for a few days actually, if I remember it. Maybe we can touch base on the prana as he explains it in this case. It's like it's the prana as the vitality of life force energy that is coming into you, almost like al keeping you alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for some reason, the way prana was described, I'm like, maybe I haven't felt it. I think what happened, well, I'm noticing a pattern is like whenever there's a very strong story or a very powerful example, then I immediately question myself and I immediately go to a place of like, whether it's false or true, I go to a place of humility. Like, how can, like, of course I haven't experienced that. Um, and in talking about prana, I think he describes the story of the man who was buried for 20 or 40 years.
The cave.
And yeah, and there was no way for air to get to him, and he came out and he had prana. Um, yeah, and I'm like, well, for me, I'm noticing contraction and doubt when I get too intellectual about what's being discussed, or do I actually, and do I actually get it? Do I get it? Um, and
Hmm.
uh,
Hopeful.
I'm being called to remind myself that this is play first and foremost, because so easily that this could become a um, not really a checklist, but like a path of mastery. And then I start to place myself at the bottom. And that I think that blocks a lot of potential, whether it's involution or evolution,
Hmm.
because I'm setting up my own my own energy and my own openness to saying, well, I can't accept anything that's up there because I'm down here. I need to do the first step and then go from
Hmm.
there. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it because you're afraid of your potential?
Mm, no.
Is it because you're lazy then? You don't want to do the work? You want to stay here,
Yeah.
down?
No.
Is something pulling you down, or is it just your decision to stay here for a little while?
Uh, oh
Come on, baby.
man. Well, I'm I'm watching my thoughts and then I'm describing what's occurring. So what I'm saying is when I get too heady about the techniques and about if I'm actually doing them correctly or if I'm doing them wrong, or if, oh, he said he said it this way and I didn't experience it that way, so I must not be doing it correctly. And then what happens is in my headiness is I drop down to this like
Mm,
base level. It's not that I want to be there. It's not that I'm denying anything. Um, and actually, I see it as like the interplay, the counterplay of desire, like strong, strong desire. My honest, strong desire is to fall asleep tonight and have complete control of my dreams. And if I want to astral travel, I can. Like, I would love that. It'd be awesome. And I've made attempts to place my body and my mind in a state where I can do that. And for whatever reason, it hasn't worked. And I think about in the very first technique, or before the first technique, he talks about Pythagoras and about how he was denied access because he was too intellectual. And then Osho also talks about the when you get access to these techniques, when you can hypnotize yourself, when your dreams become reality, you gain power. You become very powerful. And I do believe that there is a force or an energy that is protecting access to that power. I don't think it's available just to anyone anytime. And I think there's a level of purification that has to happen or before you can have that power, because power in the wrong hands can destroy the world. Um, so those are my beliefs, and maybe those are the beliefs that are keeping me down. I'm not actively trying to be down there. What I'm actually saying is, like, for me, the simple things that get me into a space of feeling like bliss, feeling connection, feeling openness. I want to just do more of those. And even in this conversation, I'm like, it's just like this subtle draw down into intellectualizing the whole process or the whole method. Um, so yeah, just want to
Mm.
play.
And so we play. But you're absolutely you hit the thought that I had while I was reading. I was like, these are such a powerful techniques. And he put them in a book, in a thick book, and he shared them with the world.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then my thought was like, oh, this can easily be, and some end up in a hands of someone who is so naive to think they can hold that much power and so ignorant and not humble whatsoever to think that it's, and who knows? He also even talks about the realms of touching the evil forces or whatever. Oh, was it him or the other book? I'm mixing it up. But, you know, to know what are you doing? It's the same like going into the magic of Hermetics, right? So when we dove into it, tapped again into the Hermetic teachings, there's this other book that I got, which was full of magic. And it's like you don't want to enter you unless you know what you're doing. And then I read the reviews of people, hundreds of reviews. It's like, no, no, you actually want to be very careful what you're doing. And this is not black magic and like curses and stuff like that. This is playing or understanding of how can you bring the beneficence into self or into your environment.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about the world and the power that this can have over the world, but I was really surprised that this book is available for the entire world almost. And yet,
What's the title of it?
this book,
What's the title?
the Book of Secrets,
Yeah.
and that he's so open. But then I realized there must be a very big level of trust into a good in people, like if your default thinking is the descent into the darkness versus ascent into the lightness, then it's like you must have some deep trust into the good in people, deeply seated inside of you, deeply knowing that you will
Well, yeah. It's a connection with divinity itself. And I think Osho is largely from the school of Tantra, which is just deep acceptance, whether light or dark, whether maleficent or beneficent. So I think that's the basis. And there's a deep lineage in Tantra of masters who have laid the foundation and the vibration. And I think someone with bad intention could pick this book up, and in techniques of centering your breath and doing these things, like, I think perhaps the techniques themselves are purifying, right? As he says to
yeah.
Pythagoras, like, you have to fast for 40 days and focus on your breath. And it's like someone thinks, oh, I'll just go fast for 40 days, focus on my breath, and then I'll have all the power of the world. But you probably go through such a profound death of the ego and of the small self that wanted it all,
Hmm.
that you no longer come with that desire anymore. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting, and it's interesting how this has come. I think it's like, we got new moon in Scorpio in a couple days. But like, I was
New
just
moon
sitting
is
here.
today, yesterday.
Oh, it already, okay. Here we are.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I was just like, I have these books that this lineage of Gnosticism and trying to learn
Mm-hmm.
and astral travel. So this guy, he teaches on YouTube, astral travel, Gnosticism, purification of the body, all this stuff. And he talks about in some of his experience with astral travel how there's literally schools of black magic in Europe where he's found himself pulled into them. And it's like he's just kind of giving a warning, like you can find yourself, you can call out and like say, I want to be taught X, Y, and Z, and you'll get pulled into
Mm-hmm.
this place. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself completely enraptured with dark forces. And I'm like, I was going down that path and like the light versus the dark and purification. There's a lot of restraint and denial of the body's desires. There's a lot of restriction. Um, and I can even see it in how people dance. I was watching, sometimes I just watch, and I was watching this guy dance, and he kept doing this move where he's like pushing energy down and like really focusing on breathing. And I'm like, oh, that's a powerful move, but it looks like you're trying to contain something. Like it looks like you're putting an animal in a cage. And I'm like, I've been there. I know that feeling. I know that energy and that desire. And I think Tantra is so different. It just you can't possibly, yeah, I don't want to speak for anyone, but for me personally, with Tantra, it's like you're making love to the universe. So what is so what darkness is there? Or in the darkness, you just see it as the play of like when you're facing the light, the shadow is right on your shoulder. When you're facing the shadow, the light is right behind you. It's just a matter of turning and seeing that it's there or feeling that it's right behind you. That they interplay. It's the masculine and feminine principle that holds it all together. I'm on a ramble. I didn't have any coffee, and for some reason, this or you or the new moon, I'm just like,
Revealing yourself.
yeah.
No, true. And, I love that there are many, many ways to try to journey, right? And I think because, and whatever, it's, like the only, when you don't have anything to hold on to come back and resource from, or get the confirmation because something is seeking, something in your mind is asking to know that you are on the right path. And what is the right path? In Tantra, you're explaining is like everything is right path. It doesn't matter what you're doing, where are you going, what are you processing. It's like you're already there. You don't have to get anywhere. And I like that because it releases a lot of tension.
Yeah.
Like any other methods or paths will give a lot of attention, tension, a lot of force will be like funneled into something to get to somewhere. And sometimes even the meditation, it's like, oh my God, you're meditating for all your life. But if you don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
what tells you that you're actually doing something? Right. It's like I remember I was in Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce or something like that. And there was one of the leaders, I attended this like program, and he asked, what are you afraid? He's like, what are you afraid at work most of the time? And then everybody had to say something. And I remember vividly. And he looked at me, he meditates. He praises himself on meditating for years. And if he doesn't meditate for 2 hours a day, then he's not himself. He was all over the place. Like he was not steady, concrete energy you can lean into or trust. He was almost like so chaotic. And now I understand it, just simply in my mind, that energy just needed to be, oh, our time is
Go ahead.
up. Our alarm just came in. I lost the train of thought. It's
So it was your turn to share about your fear at work.
oh, and I said out of blue, and I was like, I'm afraid I will lose my mind. That's what I said. And everybody was like, oh, you must be crazy. We're talking about leadership skills and active listening and professional, like dress code and stuff like that. I was like, my biggest fear is to lose my mind. And that came to now I understand it as exactly that. It's like there is an inner deep fear of doing something wrong and to doing it in the wrong direction, which can be the direction of darkness. And I don't know where this is coming from. I'm not preconditions in this lifetime to think that things can go wrong. I just have a sense that it has happened, or I touched something, or I was in contact with something in the past. And that can also be very present in the way I live my life now. So all that to say is like we do put all these seeds for our evolution, our path in the future. And yes, we put the seeds of acceptance that we have both energies, that we can have both potentials, right? But we also we have the choice, almost like I don't know, do we have a choice? I'll take that out. I don't know if we have a choice or everything is already yet fixated. But the desire to learn about it, to try it and to practice it, I think this is where the awareness of who we are, who I am, becomes more and more not even mythological anymore, pathological. It becomes very tangible for me to
Mm.
accept myself as is, right? And when I get in contact with a pure opposition from where my state is, I I always like get that sense of confirmation is that of course you're gonna oppose me in the same power, like right, my muscle for holding myself in what I am is going to be tested by this equal amount of power opposing me.
Mm.
And to me, that's tantra. It's like, oh, but I see you. And if I have to figure out how to accept you because I see you. You're equally powerful, but you're not wrong. That's
Mhm.
just not my side. And I have to be feeling something inside of me that it's of equal power. So it's very, very interesting how the journey comes to my awareness and changes the entire narrative of what is wrong versus right, rather than it's inviting me this acceptance inside as I evolve, as I grow.
Mhm. Yeah, beautifully put. Yeah, and more when I think about all the stages of, telling my friend like I haven't felt anything, and then trying astral travel, meditating for an hour every night and quote unquote failing. Um, doing white tantra, like semen retention for a long period of time, and then just having that experience and feeling like in some ways it was a failure, in some ways I learned things. But just looking at my life from the macro view and just seeing both stages of evolution and involution, and then periods of fear and transcendence, and then each moment being beautiful in its own way. And and the more accepting I can be of who I am, both in the past and in the present, well, especially in the present, the more accepting I can be of who I am, I think the less traumatic that my life will be. And I started by saying, I think. I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out.
And that's the beauty. I think that's the game. That's the play. That's the dance to find out, to test it, and to really be able to question yourself, everything about yourself, and come back to, like almost like nothing else is there left to try. And in the meantime, I'll keep trying. I'll try, I'll test, I'll test, I'll dance, I'll dance.
Hmm.
I like this. I can't believe we're almost about to hit 100 pages. And I'm like, when did we? This is going so good. Like, I'm so happy that we started this. So happy.
Yay. Yeah,
It
me too.
warms me. It warms me up, and it's almost like a mission to wake up every morning, every Wednesday to do this.
Hmm. I just wanted to say something. Speaking about sucking and how he says, I gave this method to one man, and he's like, this is absurd, but a breast appears before me, and then he led him to like doing the sucking technique. When I was doing parts work, and this part that came up that was like seeking emotional comfort and stability. And the person mirroring asked me, is anything coming up? Do you have any like images or feelings or sensations? And I was like, I kind of laughed a little bit. I'm like, I don't know how else to say it, but I'm imagining two very large breasts like around my head. And I said it, and I could just feel like kind of a contraction, like just a subtle, like, okay, we're gonna get things back on the rails, you know? And I really appreciate Osho. I just love Osho because he's never disrupted. And he's like, do not feel guilty. Nothing is wrong. It's one of the most beautiful things. So why be guilty? He just,
Hmm.
and this is like the Tantra approach, is like you're removing the barriers that exist within you that don't need to be there. Like, well, let's just look at the world for what it is. Let's just look at this experience of life for all that it is and in all ways and deny nothing. And in that deep acceptance, that's where transformation can occur.
But you see, what he did, he gave a different narrative that was more simple and true.
Hmm.
And then we had to realize that what he's saying is the ultimately what had we had experienced. We just had a layer of different programming that we didn't
And
know
attachment.
was programmed.
Yeah.
So when what he ultimately explained was this beautiful connection that we all have with
Hmm.
our mother. The first touch, the first experience was sucking the nipple as we were birthed to this world. And it was such a profound connection that explains the connection between a mother and a child. That is that bonding, that is that trust, that is that, like even contemplating about that moment of this connection between two different bodies and the one that now is birthed with so much prana, with on its own energy, almost feels poetic in nature. And because, and on the other side, the way we think of it is so sexualized and so pornographic, and everything is like we're so ashamed to think of it that way, right? So the
Yeah.
whole deprogramming happens in a simplicity of contemplative. And this is almost, he almost gives a permission to think about a different way,
Hmm.
right? And you don't feel alone in the way of
Right.
even imagining it. And to just end the story is that the guy was giving the direction to imagine sucking the same exact nipple, either of a mother or a nipple, it doesn't matter, for a couple of months until he started almost realizing himself. And then he was what giving the almost the direction to do it for 3 to 6 months to 9 months, and slowly this sense of the sense actually disappeared, right? The desire for it disappeared so much so that he became blissful and liberated, a sense of liberation, which is such a good technique to try. It's like, and yet everything about the system and the environment that we live in calls for threat and the defense of threat, which is kind of shaped in a form of shame and
Yeah.
scares, fearing of feeling of fear, not to be able to say, you're going to be canceled, you're going to be judged immediately by it. And it's like all these layers of programming will be almost tossed upon you as the weight that you have to carry. But yeah, he comes in and says, no, why afraid? It's
Hmm.
beautiful. It's a beautiful, pure process. that we are all going through. It's the fact, actually.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
what contracted you during your practice? And I'm assuming who you practice with, but what contracted you? The shame, or was it like the fact that you
oh,
heard yourself?
it felt like it kind of threw her off a little bit.
So you
So I
contracted.
was like, oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
Ah, I
You
see.
know, like to me, it wasn't. I'm like, again, I was just approaching it like this is what is. It could be sexual, it could not be. It could be innocent, could not be. I'm not. And for whatever reason, yeah, it just threw the energy a little bit, but it's okay. It's not something that I held on to, or I just remember having that moment and feeling I actually thought about Osho in that moment of like because I've heard this talk before. Um and I'm like, oh, this isn't me being manly and being stuck in some old programming. But it's interesting how many people are vaping almost constantly nowadays. Of course, before that, cigarettes, but it seems like it's becoming more accessible. And then even now, it's like they have pens that have nothing in them. It's just air, but it's like flavored air, and people love doing it.
But you see why it matters to know the story behind it.
Yeah,
It matters to understand. It matters.
yeah. It's a way to absolve judgment. Thus, we validate our time together.
This was so good. My favorite so far. My God, I'm so excited for the rest. When were you excited last time to read 3,000 worth of 3,000 pages of the book? It's like, I cannot wait to finish this. Oh,
Yeah,
such a test.
I was looking for the start of today, and I came up to six, and I was it says devices to transcend dreaming, and I'm like, do I
There he
want
goes.
to? Because I love dreaming.
Are your dreams, do you feel yourself in a dream? Like, are you conscious about them, or
No, I'm usually not. No.
maybe this will help? Okay.
Yeah.
Voila. Grazie,
Well,
grazie.
have a good day.
You too. Ciao.
Bye.